in the cold plunge, now your blood vessels are constricting. And what your body is doing, we're in a very cold, dangerous environment is what the body's thinking. So we're going to preserve our warm blood in the core to help protect our organs and preserve life.
What do you think the biggest kind of misconceptions are that people might have about sauna and cold plunge?
It needs to be extreme for it to be effective. And that's just not true. How often should I do it, right? All of us are wired that we want a protocol like, hey, how long should I go in the sauna? How long should I, do the cold plunge? How frequently should I do it? How many days a week? And the answer is,
most people are looking for more energy, better sleep, less stress, and faster recovery. What they don't realize is some of the most powerful tools for improving health aren't new, expensive, or complicated. They're uncomfortable. Sauna and cold plunge have been used for centuries. Now modern research is backing them up, showing real benefits for cardiovascular health, inflammation, mental resilience, and nervous system regulation. Today we're breaking down what the science actually says about heat and cold, and how everyday people can use sauna and cold plunge safely and consistently to feel better and perform better. My guest is Joe Gadd, co-owner of Plunge St. George, a sauna and cold plunge spa focused on recovery and long-term health. Joe's here to help translate the research into practical, sustainable routines people can actually stick with. Hey, really quick, thanks so much for listening. The purpose of this podcast is to help people understand that they have the ability to choose the direction of their life, whether that be business, finance, relationships, health, any of that. I believe that this podcast will give you the tools to take the right steps, but we need your help. Please be sure to like, to comment, to subscribe. It helps us to bring on more guests and continue to get better. Thank you so much. So thanks so much for being here.
you bet.
I'm excited about this one because this is a topic that has had a huge impact on my life. So for people meeting you for the first time, who are you and what is Plunge St. George?
Yeah. So Joe Gadd, I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, grew up in that area. And I met my wife while attending BYU in Provo, Utah. So married her, and we now have 5 beautiful children, 19 down to 10. So we're kind of on that stage of parenthood right now.
Yes.
So it's no dull moment over at our house, and
Noise.
Yeah, lots of noise. And I out of school, I went into business management and been in financial services actually all of my career. But my wife, the other half, has been the one that's been really the passionate one, if you will, on health and wellness and nutrition and exercise and all those things, right? And so by extension, that's become something I've become quite passionate about. And so in any event, here we are now owning a sauna and cold plunge spa. It's an amazing journey, and it's an amazing thing to be able to share with the community and see the real impact it has on people's lives.
I love that. And for someone brand new, I want to talk a little bit about these saunas and cold plunges because there's a lot of people that maybe haven't tried. I think more people have probably tried sauna, maybe less on the cold plunge side. But from your perspective, like what's happening in the body during those two, both sauna and cold plunge?
Yeah. So in the sauna, many people refer that to a mini workout you're getting. So essentially in that heat, your blood vessels are getting dilated very, very largely, right? To where you're getting maximum blood flow in that heat environment. As a result, your heart rate's going up and you're actually burning calories, as you're just sitting there in this, hot environment. Also, what's happening is your pores are opening very, very largely or big or whatever words you want to use, to where you're getting maximum sweat. And as a result, maximum toxin release from all the things that we, ingest either intentionally or unintentionally, in the environment that we're surrounded in, right? And so that's, what's happening in the sauna, okay, along with other things. And then when you talk about the cold plunge, in many ways, the opposite is happening. So from a blood vessel standpoint, in the cold plunge, now your blood vessels are constricting, okay? And what your body is doing is saying, well, we're in a very cold, dangerous environment is what the body's thinking. So we're going to preserve our warm blood in the core to help protect our organs and preserve life, right? And so you've got your warm blood that's getting preserved in your core in that cold plunge, and that's how your body's coping with that condition. You get shiver and other things that the body is naturally trying to do to make sure you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what's going on, high level when you're in the sauna and then when you're in the cold plunge.
Love it. And so I did a little bit of research on kind of the benefits of each, and there were several things that just kind of kept coming. And there was a list of for each one. There was just a long list, but some of the things that came up with sauna, which was interesting, and you kind of talked about this, and improved cardiovascular health and circulation. That's heart's just beating a little bit faster while you're sitting there. Better sleep was one that came up. That was interesting. And then the it was similar to a low intensity cardio, which was fascinating to me.
Mhm.
And then as far as the cold plunge goes, it seems like the cold plunge was almost more mental. It seemed like the sauna was kind of body, and the cold plunge was some body also, but mental also. Nervous system regulation. I've got a cool story for that a little bit later, but reduced inflammation and improved mood, focus, and stress resilience. And so the kind of the shared benefit, I guess, is training the nervous system to handle stress more effectively.
Absolutely.
I thought that was just fascinating. Right? Being in those environments. And there was Brian Johnson did a video about this where he did like a 90-day thing. For those who don't know Brian Johnson, he sold a tech company for for a lot, hundreds of millions or so, and he's trying to reverse aging, right? And just spends millions and millions of dollars every year just kind of testing everything, trying to figure out how to not die. He always wears the shirt that says like don't die.
Mhm.
But he did one based on the sauna, and I found it fascinating because he referenced a study, a Finnish study that showed up to a 40% reduction in all cause mortality, which I thought that's better than some like medications and stuff, right? That was impressive there. And so his takeaways were kind of the similar cardiovascular effects to light cardio. Blood pressure improved quickly, and the results scaled with frequency and temperature. And when he was talking about there's some of the other saunas that are the infrared,
Yeah.
and they just didn't have the same benefit
Yeah.
as the ones where it's like 200 degrees, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was mostly it there, and I was just fascinated by how much of an impact that can have in overall health by sitting in the sauna.
Yeah, and for Finns, for example, people from Finland, it's just a way of life. There are more saunas, and they call it sauna in Finland, and my wife would be mad at me if I didn't say sauna.
Okay.
So there are more saunas in the country of Finland than there are households. I mean, that's how common and prevalent the practice
Wow.
of sauna is in that culture.
Mhm.
And that statistic of 40% decreased all cause mortality. That's not surprising to me at all. I mean, but it's one of those things that it's not just do it occasionally and reap those type of benefits. It's a consistent kind of the words you used earlier, consistent and safely done
Yeah,
as a lifestyle,
yeah.
will absolutely yield those type of benefits.
And I think in his video, I think when they did the test, I think he referenced something like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
If he did the sauna for 4 days a week, and I think it was 20 minutes a session, which is really not much. Like,
Yeah.
just go in there, you just
Well,
hang out
80
for a little
minutes,
bit, right?
hour and a half or whatever.
Hang out and you get all these benefits, and you're not really having to do anything. You're just literally sitting there,
Read a
right?
book or whatever.
Or if you're at Plunge, you're just chatting with somebody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I want to talk for a second ago about cold plunges. And so I have many friends who do it frequently, And then I have there's a lot of people that I know that have never done it, right? So for those that have never done it, what does it feel like? Explain what that feels like when you first get in.
Yeah. So, and I'll give you my, experience with it, because my first time that I can remember going into cold water with the intention of staying in, because I've done it, I think we've all done it some, to where, you come from a hot tub, hey, let's go jump in the pool, but then you rush right back out of that pool.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds.
Yeah, 5 seconds. Get right back into the hot. That's not plunging in as I define it, right?
No.
So plunging, in my opinion, cold plunging is when you go in with the intent, the mindset that you are deliberately going to stay in that water because of the benefits it can deliver to you. So I remember the first time I did that in our own pool, just during the winter. It's like, okay, I'll stay in and purposely stay in and see how long I can do it. And I got in, and instantly my mind just, I went weak in the mind, and I was like, this sucks. I mean, I'm not going to last 10 seconds in here.
Yeah.
And I lasted 30 seconds, and it felt like a half hour. After 30 seconds, I was with my wife and some other friends. I was the first one to get out. I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is stupid. I'm out. Because, to your question, how does it feel? It is uncomfortable. It is painful. It is every bit what you would expect that to feel like, if you just experienced ever, a cold water situation. A cold shower is one thing, right? Because, it's not necessarily immersing your body into the water. When you immerse your body into a cold body of water, that is the most potent delivery of cold therapy that you can get, right? And it's like needles in, like in your feet. I know I've personally, a lot of people feel the pain most pronounced in your feet, in your fingers, if you have your hands immersed, because those are the areas of our body that don't have as much tissue and insulation, right? So, but yeah, it's just excruciating discomfort, and
you should do it.
And you should do it.
I think what led me to try it, I mean, I'm part of a men's group that does all kinds of weird things, and so that was part of it. But I never understood it. But Ed Milet had explained once. I went to an event where he was speaking, and he had talked about his experience with it. And what he said was fascinating. Is he said, when you go into cold plunge, your body's under attack, and so the brain goes into kind of fight or flight mode. Yeah. All your systems are activated. Yeah. Your energy is through the roof. Yeah. Your mental focus, the clarity there is just like laser focused. And then you get out, and you're still in that state with all of this energy and focus. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. And so then same thing. I jumped in my pool, and I was like, I'm going to do this. But it's funny, I knew I was going to struggle with it, because all my family, everybody knows me, was like, if the pool water is 85, I don't want to be in it. I want it at 90. I like warm water. Yeah. Now I can handle it.
Yeah.
But I was like, so I started filming myself doing it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to film it, because then I've got to do it. I'm not going to like put my heat in and then just come out and be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I got in there, and that first 15 seconds was like, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah.
And then I was like, everybody else does this and they don't die, and they're doing it for 3 minutes. And so I'm like, I got 60 seconds in this. And then it was interesting, because the body feeling under attack switched to this really peaceful moment. Yeah. Where I'm like, I'm okay. And I could feel things kind of tingling a little bit and going numb. And I could feel the bit of a sting, but it wasn't anything like it was, it was that initial shock that got me. Yeah. And but then after that, it was completely different. And then I made it a minute that first time, which was challenging for sure. But then I got out, and like that whole day, I was like, just clear. Energy was like better than caffeine. Like, there were all of these things. And I thought, okay, there's got to be like a coincidence or something. Did it again the next day. And then the third day, I had a little bit of a stressful moment happen. And it was like midday, and I was working from home. And then I was like, I'm going to test this thing out. And I was totally stressed. And then I just jumped in there for 1 minute, came out, my whole world changed. And I was like, how? 1 minute,
Yeah.
And it was just, it was insane, the effect that it had. What did you experience that time when you had it and you did it after? I mean, the first time, 30 seconds,
Yeah.
were you like, okay, that
I'm
was
weak.
dumb.
I'm weak.
Let me do it again, or what?
Well, and so, yeah, that first time I didn't fully appreciate, that experience, right? I just kind of wrote it off as like, well, I probably won't do that again.
You did the hardest part, and that was it, right? You
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
get
pretty much. Yeah, that first 30 seconds, as you said, and first 30 seconds to a minute is the hardest part. But honestly, it was shortly after that experience that my wife and I, decided to uh, essentially, the ideas formed to form this business, right? So my wife had already had a certain comfort level with
Mhm.
sauna, even with plunging, even though she'll be the first to admit she prefers the sauna. But
See, we all.
she knew she had better wisdom than me in terms of what the cold can do for you, right?
Mhm.
And so it was soon after we made this decision to launch this venture, well before we'd even opened it. But I thought, you know what, I've got to gain a personal experience with this therapy that one, so I can speak from a more credible source when I'm, selling this product and service to the community, and two, just kind of, see, put it to the test, right? And so I work out pretty regularly, and so I decided to start pairing a brief cold plunge, 3 to 4 minutes, with at the end of my workout each day. And so it was during the winter. I would go out to a little kiddie pool at the gym that was not that wasn't they didn't heat it during the winter, and so that was my perfect opportunity to put this to the test. And so I started doing that after every workout. I'd go out. I actually would go hit the sauna first, and then go straight from the sauna. I'd go walk outside into this little kiddie pool and do the cold plunge. And it was one of those things where I had to really work my ways up to it. So my first time doing it, I maybe reached a minute. So I'd at least gone, further than 30 seconds.
Yes.
And then it's like you said, I was realizing like, man, after 30 seconds, a minute, I can settle in, as long as I'm breathing and just not giving into that fight or flight, that you talked about. I could do this.
Mhm.
And so I worked my way up slowly over the course of a few days and weeks to where 4 minutes ended up being kind of the number that I landed on. Like that's my number, 4 minutes in the cold.
I like how you called that brief a moment ago. A
Yeah.
brief 4 minutes, and to me, it's like an hour in there.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective has changed and
Yeah.
evolved, as you can imagine, over the last few years. But and so as I started doing that, man, I tell you, for one thing, I play an excessive amount of pickleball, which is unhealthy to begin with. That's another story. That's another podcast. But as a result of that, my feet pain, my knee pain was constant, and I'd
Wow.
never really experienced that
Like the
before.
joint issue,
Yeah,
joint
joint
inflammation in
and
the joints,
yes,
like, yeah.
inflammation, everything. And within a few days of starting this regimen of doing a cold plunge and sauna after my workout, that was nearly gone. I mean, I'd tried orthotics, I'd tried braces,
Oh, wow.
like for my knees and stuff, and nothing like this cold plunge was giving me the recovery and the healing that I needed, right?
Mhm.
So that was amazing. And so right then and there is like, okay, after a few days of doing this and I can have that type of result, obviously, there's something to this, right? And then after a few weeks of doing that, this is the best part of the story. I went to a department store to try on a pair of pants. And I get my normal waist size and I go in the dressing room and I try on these pair of pants. And I kid you not, there's like a huge, gap in the waist in these
Mhm.
pants. It's like, well, I must have grabbed the wrong size. So I take them off and look at the size. This is the size I've worn for the last 4 years. So what had happened is, as a result of changing nothing else other
Wow.
than just the regimen of cold plunge and sauna, I'd lost 2 inches on my waist seam and on my waist size, and had become more lean. And that is absolutely one among the other many benefits that come from cold plunge and sauna, because you increase your metabolism, so you burn fat easier and more than not doing it.
Mm.
So anyway, that's how I evolved from jumping in my pool, getting out after 30 seconds and saying this is stupid, to now, not only doing it myself as a regular practice, but owning a spa locally that delivers that type of service to the community. So
I love it. So with consistent use, have you seen changes in like mindset or patience or emotional regulation, either personally or with clients or?
oh, absolutely. I mean, what you're talking about in terms of the cognitive stuff. I mean, we have a list of benefits that we post in each one of our areas in our spa, and at the top of that list is reduced anxiety.
Mm,
And it's absolutely true. I'll give you maybe the best example, or one of the best examples I have of that of one of our guests. So it's fun to kind of be there. You know, our experience is very service based, and our hosts are very integrated into your session when you come to our spa. And so I was hosting a session several months ago, and this young girl was new to plunging, and we get to experience a lot of people's first plunge, which is
oh yeah, and you're like, I remember that
which
one.
is just kind of fun. It's kind of fun. So every day is pretty fun over there. And so this young girl approaching the water, we'd given them kind of some pro tips on
Mhm.
on how to do it and whatnot. Well, sure enough, she walks down into the pool and just instantly walks back
Yep.
out. So that fight or flight just was, too much for her to overcome, right? And so I happened to be there when I observed this. So I said to her, "Hey, listen, this is there's no better example than than a situation of mind over matter. And this is absolutely an area where if you can get your mind right, you can endure that, discomfort for even the, 1 to 4 minutes or whatever it is, and tap into these awesome benefits that come from it." And she looks at me and she says, "Oh, mind over matter? Yeah, I mean, I can do that." And she then explains to me that she's had a lifelong struggle with some very debilitating diseases
Uh,
that have been a part of her life struggle for forever. But she said, "But I've realized that with my mindset, that I actually that it helps me overcome lots of these
mm,
side effects that come from these disorders and diseases that my body unfortunately experiences." Right.
yes.
So after that brief discussion, she gets right back in the water and stays in there for 4 minutes. 4 minutes after
Wow.
initially just getting right back out.
She's tough.
So talking about, what that discomfort, and if you can get your mind right in terms of coping with that, how the correlation and the benefits that has beyond just being able to endure cold water, but relationships, career, all your other goals and pursuits in life. Honestly, I think it spills over, for no pun intended, but but yeah, it's absolutely true.
So cold plunges, I mean, they're uncomfortable by design, right? But what do you think they teach us about controlling our response to stress?
Yeah. Well, I think what they teach us is that um, those moments, uh, while stressful and uncomfortable, they'll pass. They'll be brief, right? And so if we can become calm,
Mhm.
okay, in those moments, and you know, rest and get into even a meditative state, um, it teaches us that we can not only survive those moments, but the word I like to use is yield to that discomfort, yield
Mm,
to that ice,
yeah.
yield to that cold water. And that way, when we have challenges outside of the water, which we have every day,
Mm.
right? Some big and some small, we can take that same lesson and yield to that challenge, yield to that problem, and overcome it, and become, that much stronger and better on the other side of it. So,
I had a major, like, just completely unintended life improvement that was, I'm convinced, 100% the result of cold plunging, and I didn't expect it at all. It's not listed on the list of benefits, right? But and I'll share what that is in just a moment. But when you're going through a cold plunge, number one, it when you're looking at the water, and from at least for me, maybe not you at the moment, but it gets in my head, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I do not want to go in there, right? And there's everything in the brain saying, no, we're not going to go in there.
Mhm.
And then you have to overcome that part. And then you're actually in there and the brain's like, what the hell did you just do to me? You know?
Exactly.
Or the body is,
The body is definitely
the body's saying that, like, what did you just do to me? Right. We're under attack.
Yeah.
And then you've got to overcome that to convince the body, like, no, we're not, we're okay. And you have that little sense of calm, right? Like your body's, you're freaking out and we don't need to, we're not in imminent danger.
Yeah.
It feels like it because we feel like we're getting attacked from every square inch of the body, but we're not.
Right.
And it's okay. And then that's when you start to feel that calm. So the interesting and where I saw a major improvement and where that just walking through that series where it helped me was a fear of flying, which didn't seem at all related. But when you hear kind of how that sequence is, then you kind of make sense, right? Like, you know, statistically, what are the odds of something happening in a plane? They're very, very low, extremely low, right? But when I got into the plane, I was the plane moved, I'm like holding on, like that's going to do something,
Right.
you know, and everybody else is kind of calm. But in my brain's like, if the plane moves, we're dying, you know?
Right.
And it was wrong, but that was just, I had that every time I flew. And so I would take, sometimes I would take anxiety pills. I would try to breathe through it. I'd try to meditate through it. There's all kinds of things that I would need to do. And it was hard. And it kind of limited my travel a little bit.
Sure.
I would still like force myself to do it.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because after I started cold plunging, I got on the plane and I didn't even recognize that I wasn't nervous. I used to get nervous 2 weeks before and I wasn't. I didn't even recognize that. And I just thought, well, I'm busy and I've got a bunch going on. I'm not even thinking about this. And, you know, get on the plane and we get in the air and there's a little turbulence. And then I noticed my body didn't go like this. You know, my body didn't jump.
Wow.
And then I was like, that was strange. Let me see what happens next time. There was more turbulence. Completely calm.
Wow.
And I landed and I thought, I've done nothing different. Like, how is this all of a sudden? It's affected me for a decade. Like, how all of a sudden is this something different? And I'm kind of running through, seeing that I haven't changed anything with diet. I haven't changed anything with exercise. I haven't. The only thing that I changed was cold plunging. And then I immediately like, oh, I'm training the brain to overcome anxiety when I'm cold plunging. Because when I'm in that water, my body's experiencing all this anxiety and I'm overcoming it. And this is the same experience. When I'm in that plane, I'm in the cold water and convincing myself that, hey, it's okay, we're fine, and completely released. So anyways, it changed everything.
Yeah. I mean,
and it was like from that point forward, no issues. And I even experienced some major turbulence and no issues.
it's amazing.
It was like, it didn't make any sense at all to me at that time. And as I learned a little bit more, I'm like, okay, if we put our bodies in those kind of more difficult situations, the mind gets trained that we can handle it. Yeah. We're not dying.
Yeah. Yeah. You're conditioning, honestly, in that water, you're conditioning the mind and the body. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's like that voluntary discomfort, right? It's so powerful in other areas of life. Like you don't even recognize it. So that's why it's like, you can look at the benefits of sauna and cold plunge and all that, but the life change outside with response to anxiety and those stressors that happen in everyday life.
Yeah.
It's not listed on there.
Those are the intangibles that hard to quantify, hard to measure, right? Yeah.
It was so huge. And I'm still just fascinated by it that was it.
I love that.
But I love it. So when people first walk into plunge, like what are they typically coming in for? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some curiosity.
They're probably not trying to solve plane or flying, fear of flying issues. Right?
I mean, that is a real thing. So that's really cool. That story, and I might use that when I share.
Please do.
Yeah,
I'm happy to share it too. It's life changing.
Yeah, but listen, people are coming, for a few different reasons. One is social media in recent years, particularly around COVID. Social media brought cold plunge in particular to the forefront from a American or Western culture standpoint. Look, this is not something new. It's been around for thousands of years, in other cultures, particularly sauna and plunge in Finland and all across Europe and other areas. But it hasn't been a practice or a routine thing for, Americans on a widespread level. But then COVID, with everything going on, people started getting into stuff, and social media started showing people doing these extreme, plunge situations, right? Way low temperatures, cracking through ice, going in lakes, and long durations. And what that did is, one, it did a good job of again publicizing this practice that actually has some amazing benefits. Now, the flip side of it is social media would suggest you have to do these extreme situations, in terms of temperatures or durations, to really do it, and that couldn't be more false. Um, there's the beauty of this practice is the simplicity and the non-extreme ends of the spectrum that you can do it in on a regular basis in terms of temperature of water and duration of each, plunge or sauna. And so, so people come into us maybe seeing what they've seen on social media, and hey, you know what? I've seen this for enough years now. I want to come try it out, right? Um, and I actually get excited when people come to us based on that background with cold plunge and sauna,
Okay.
because they've seen the extreme, they've seen kind of the, what would be what I consider the worst part of contrast therapy of sauna and cold plunge. So they've set the bar, in my opinion, pretty low for what we hope to deliver, which is going to be a very while uncomfortable while you're in the water, and you may get quite hot in the sauna. So while those parts are certainly uncomfortable, we're going to pamper you with service and amenities that distract you from that discomfort that you're going
Think
through.
about that, because you have your, was it tea or something that you
Yeah.
bring in?
Yeah.
And that's totally true. The distraction, you kind of forget about the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
So I mean,
thing.
so a typical session with us, we'll greet you in, we'll come give you a tour of the space, we'll give you your towels and everything. But when you're in the sauna, our host is going to come in and pour the water on the rocks to give you the steam. That'll be infused with any number of different essential oils that we use for the day, so you get a nice aroma. We'll offer you electrolytes in the sauna, just to kind of, you're still going to get a great sweat. That's not going to detract from the why you're there, to get some great benefits, but might as well have a drink of, electrolytes while you're sweating it out. We'll bring you cold scented towels, in the sauna. And then, yeah, like you said, after the cold plunge, we'll have a hot herbal tea made for you that you can sip on and rest, which is a big part of the experience for us that we like to promote, is the rest from the cold back into the heat. Make sure you've rested at room temperature to allow your body, one, to kind of get some reprieve from this and crazy trauma you're going through, but going back between the hot and the cold.
Yeah.
The rest is honestly, in my opinion, the magic of the whole process. And so having a hot herbal tea while you're sitting poolside after getting out of the cold water, it's pretty nice. So
I like how you mentioned that distraction, because I was just thinking about, while you were saying that, my experience in the sauna at the gym as opposed to at Plunge. Because at the gym, I'm typically in the sauna. It's dark, it's quiet. I'm the only one in there, and time seems to go slower. And I know that you get the longer that you can stay in, right, to a degree,
sure.
you get more benefit. But if you're just sitting there alone in silence, then it's like, once you start to get uncomfortable, you're like, yeah, I think I've done enough. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right with those, and you bring in the cold towel, and it lengthens the time a little bit without you realizing it, and then you get more benefit from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to constantly remind people that their hour session is coming to a close, because, and it's no fault of their own. It's just easy in our space to lose track of time, which is honestly, we take pride in that, because that means you're in the moment, you're in the experience, um, hopefully unplugged a little bit from the outside world, and getting the recovery and the healing and the increased mental focus that this therapy delivers.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other thing I like about your place is, and this was, I think, the first time that I'd done it, but a couple of weeks ago, did a group session with some friends. There were, I think, 10 plus guys would barely fit in that cold. We barely fit in there, but it worked out.
You tested the limitations.
Oh yeah, we all snuggled up in there. We were all close. Yeah, we were skin to skin on that. But what's interesting is, so most of the time when I do it at home, I would do like maybe a minute or two, right? And I'm just in the pool by myself. We're in there and we're in the cold plunge, and we're chatting about whatever life. We're kind of making fun of each other a little bit. And then before you know it, they're like, "Oh, 4 minutes has gone by." I'm like, "What?"
Amazing.
That total distraction was huge, and I didn't realize that. And I think that just helps to get more benefit. I'm still getting a benefit at home from a minute and a half or so, but if I can stretch that out to 4 minutes and just not even realizing it, and it was definitely more enjoyable with the group at 4 minutes as opposed to doing the minute and a half. I think at home in 4 minutes by myself, my body was like, "All right, screaming, get out of here," But it was amazing with the group. And how many people can be in the room?
Yeah, so our normal general admission sessions, we cap at 8 people.
Okay.
And so that creates a nice, comfortable flow of people, and because not everyone spends the same amount of time in the sauna, not everyone spends the same amount of time in the plunge, not everyone spends the same amount of time resting. Those are kind of the 3 areas of each of our studios. And so eight people on an open general admission basis is a nice flow where you don't feel like you're too on top of each other, and everyone can kind of roam freely between those 3 areas. But then we will also do, like you experienced, maybe a private booking. And in those cases where people, already know each other, or whether they're friends, family, or coworkers or whatever, we'll allow actually up to 12 in that scenario as well. Yeah.
Which is what we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
And these were all fit guys. Like,
Yeah, that's a crew right there.
yeah, I'll have to get with you afterward, because I'm gonna set one of those up. I thought it was an amazing experience, and especially for those who maybe it's newer to them,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, I want to experience the benefits. I want to see what it is, but I'm probably not going to go jump in the pool by myself."
Right. Yeah.
Just the courage alone is hard on that end. But if I'm doing it in a group and it's kind of fun and we're experiencing this together, and maybe we're poking fun a little bit at each other, that's okay. And then I can kind of see what it feels like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and my biased opinion, of course, is for those people that are new and maybe a little apprehensive. I think there's very few setups and layouts and experiences than what we offer that can really cater to that person that's new to this and has some inhibitions, has some anxiety around it. And then they go through our experience and they leave all smiles. And while they were maybe the biggest, skeptic coming in, now they're singing the praises of cold water and sauna and the experience. So
wow, I
yeah.
love that. Are there any stories or anything like that have surprised you? Things like people maybe you didn't expect something from either the sauna or cold plunge. People that have told you experiences they've had.
Yeah, I mean, one that stands out. I don't know.
Besides the flight.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. It's a good one. One that stands out is we have a guest that came to our grand opening, had never really developed a regimen of cold plunge and sauna in his life before, but he suffered almost his whole life from what's called restless leg syndrome, to where, particularly even at night, his legs will just be constantly moving. And not only does it affect his sleep, but his wife's, constantly being woken up as a result of this issue he has, right? And so he wanted to put to the test, doing a regimen of sauna and cold plunge on a regular basis to see what type of impact that could have on this issue with his legs. And so he bought an unlimited pass. I was like, okay, I'm going all in. I'm going to try this and see what happens. Well, he was surprised to see after the first couple of days of coming and doing an hour session that his restless leg syndrome was like gone. I mean, so, not unlike your story of the anxiety around fear of flying. It was almost overnight for him. To the point where he even asked his wife in one of the mornings soon after he started this, is like, "Hey, did you did you hear me last night, or did I wake you up with my legs? And she said, no. And that was just a unheard of, very abnormal occurrence for him, because it's something that's always happened. And so for him, that's been enough for him to stick with the practice. And he comes, the specific member of ours comes at least 5 times a week, 1 hour each day. And
Incredible.
it has been absolutely life-changing. That's not an overstatement to say that it's been life-changing for him. And to further validate it, he went on a vacation a few months ago, a week long, where he wasn't able to cold plunge and sauna. And that very night, his restless leg syndrome came back. I mean,
Wow.
just like on cue.
Really?
And so to suggest that had any other explanation other than the intention and the hours and time that he now dedicates to contrast therapy, it just wouldn't be true, because that's absolutely how he's been able to cure it. So it's pretty awesome.
I love that. Is there anybody in particular you think that kind of benefits most from these types of things, whether it be like athletes or business owners or just people that are stressed or just,
Yeah, it used to be the case, Christian, where again, this isn't new, right? This practice, but at least in Western culture here, it seemed to be something that was primarily focused for athletes, and not just like your run-of-the-mill athletes, but like, collegiate pro athlete level people. So those individuals have known for a long time that this delivers amazing recovery and other benefits, cognitive and otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anymore, I would say no. I mean, honestly, I think the benefits that come from sauna and cold plunge on a consistent or regular basis can have can apply to nearly all walks of life. Whether you're overworked and stressed, whether you have an active lifestyle and constantly beating your body up because of how active you are. So from a recovery standpoint, that's going to benefit you. As we age and
Mm-hmm.
have all the normal aches and pains that come from aging, this will be something that can help mitigate that for you. And so, I wouldn't say this is for one, one prototype or one specific use.
Mm-hmm.
It has a wide range application.
I love that. What do you think the biggest kind of misconceptions are that people might have about sauna and or cold plunge?
Yeah. So one is something I spoke to earlier, is that it needs to be extreme for it to be effective, right? And that's just not true.
It's like as far as cold, like they think it had to be 32 degrees, but yours is what's yours at?
So yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. Ours is very deliberately at 50 degrees.
Okay.
And when I tell people that, they're shocked, because they felt like when they get in it and experience it, to them, it feels like as it could be 40, 45, even under 40. I have people guess all over the place, right? And studies suggest and support that anything under 55 degrees Fahrenheit in terms of cold therapy is excellent, optimal, temperature to deliver the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And so we very intentionally keep it at 50 degrees because, one, we don't want to exclude those that might have a lower tolerance if it's 45, 40 degrees, and exclude them from tapping into the full, experience that a 50-degree pool can give them the same result, right? And so, believe it or not, being open 10 months now, even having avid plungers come and use our space, I've not had one complaint that it's not cold enough. So it's plenty cold.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's one of the big misconceptions, that it has to be super extreme, whether on the heat side or whether on the cold side, to deliver the awesome stuff it does for you. And it's not true. You can be more in those moderate zones. And
Definitely easier to tolerate.
yeah,
For them.
and that ties into my other misconception. The other misconception is, by doing these extremes, you can do it just every once in a while and get those benefits. It's not true. This is something that is a consistent, regular regimen where you're going to see the best results from.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it occasionally, seldomly, albeit at extremes when you do it, it's not going to be as effective as doing it as on a consistent, regular basis.
How often do you think is ideal?
Yeah. So each, and that's the other thing. People want a protocol typically. That's the common question. Like, how often should I do it? Right? Everyone, all of us are wired that we want a protocol. Like, hey, how long should I go in the sauna? How long should I, do the cold plunge? How frequently should I do it? How many days a week? And the answer is it depends, because your body type can influence that answer. Your overall physical health condition can influence that answer. And so my best recommendation is, well, actually, I'll give you this. The minimum exposures that some studies have been out there, very, very renowned studies that talk about kind of the minimum exposure that you can now tap into, again, lots of the benefits that come. And it's cumulative 11 minutes of cold exposure in a week and cumulative 55 minutes of heat exposure in a week.
Okay.
So 11, this kind of a 11-55 rule.
Yeah.
So if you're, and those aren't just single sessions, right? Those are cut up into, smaller increments, right? But if you're at least reaching those levels of cumulative duration in the hot and cold, then you are experiencing at least the base level of the awesome, reduced inflammation, reduced joint pain, increased, mental focus, all the awesome things that come. And then from there, I would use that as a baseline to then ratchet it up to where you kind of settle in to, a duration and frequency that you feel the best. And then that's your answer as to, how
just kind
often
of
you should
test
go.
it and see
Yeah.
how you feel.
Yeah. And for me, it's about 4 days a week. And each cold session, like I told you, is 4 minutes is each one of my doses. And sauna is about 15 minutes each session, but again, it's different for everybody.
If someone is listening and only remembers one thing about cold plunge or sauna, what should it be?
Mind over matter. Honestly, I think that's the one thing. If you can take away from what is this all about? What's the big deal? I think it's like we've talked about. It's the mind over matter battle that we face on a daily basis in several different facets of life, and if you can conquer that in this application, then it just sets you up for success in so many other areas of life.
I love that. I wanted to pull up the website here really quick. So, Kara, if you want to pull that up, and just so people can see where they should go if they want to try this out, and then you kind of have some videos too, just kind of showing it.
Yep. Yeah. So, that's just that's our website. Very easy to book a session. We're open 7 days a week and all hours of the day. Hopefully you can see, from the images there, we very much try to harness the age-old tradition of this practice. So we are very Scandinavian based. We are a Nordic style bathhouse. And so we hope that when you walk in, it's almost as if you're walking into a European spa.
Yeah.
And even some of the names of the memberships and services we offer are in Finnish or in Swedish. Very much intentional because, we feel like they've had this practice for centuries. And we want to provide a piece of what they've had for a long time to the local community here.
Love it. Tell me a little bit about some of the packages you have.
Yeah. So our base level package is a 4 times a month membership that allows you 4 sessions, 4 1-hour sessions in a given month.
Kind of a once a week type thing, typically.
Yeah, basically a once a week, which for us, that's a great starting point for someone, especially new to this. Start once a week and see what it does for you. If you're feeling better and it's making a difference, great. And so that package is $70 for the month. So on a per session basis, about $17.50 for an hour session.
Yeah.
Or normally just dropping in, it's a $35 session. And then we do a couples of that same package, and we give you a discount. So if 2 of you are on it, we'll give you 8 sessions now and we reduce it to 120 for the two of you. So you save, $20 versus buying it individually. And then for those that know, hey, look, once a week's great, but I know that I'm a 4 time a month or 4 time a week guy, or whatever it is. And so we do have an unlimited pass that would allow you to come once a day, every day of the month. And that's priced currently at $160. That's kind of a promotional price that as we reach a certain number, it'll go up to a higher price, but currently it's at $160 a month. So those are the different packages. And then, as we mentioned, you can also do a private buyout of one of our studios, and just bring a group of friends, family, coworkers. It's a fun time. It's a good time, as you've experienced.
Like, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. They get the reaction of some people that don't do this at all, and then see.
Maybe I won't tell them.
Yeah, just don't tell them.
I know, they're like, just take your swimsuit.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, bring your swimsuit, and we'll do the rest. And that we price that pretty reasonably at $200 for the hour. And so if you bring up to 12 people on it per head, it's pretty affordable. So
yeah. Well, and it's just a great experience, and all of those people can kind of overcome some of those things together, especially if it's their first time, or if people have done it a few times before. It just kind of makes the experience a little bit.
Yeah, the bonding and the connection that occurs during those sessions in particular is pretty amazing.
Yep, awesome. And so the website is, I can't see it quite on there, but it is.
It's stgeorge.plunge.co.
Yeah. stgeorge.plunge.co. We'll make sure to put a link there in the description. Anything you want to add that you feel like the listeners they just need to know?
Well, listen, I'll say one thing, because particularly on the cold side, because again, lots of these conversations gravitate towards the cold piece of sauna and cold plunge, because the cold seems to be the hardest for most people, right? And I'll tell you, even being an avid plunger myself, I have guests that come every day and plunge. That water, even though we keep it at the set 50 degrees and it's the same water every day, that water feels different every day to my regulars and to anyone that comes any given time. And the reason that is because there's so many variables, mentally, physically, environmentally, climate-wise, that can affect how that same temperature water, how we're going to feel that and experience that. And so if you can understand that, and understand that some days are going to be harder than others in doing that, and that hard thing in terms of being in that cold, then that's a huge piece of the mental maturity and mental understanding that comes from this type of practice. So
love it. Well, there you have it. Make sure you check out Plunge in St. George. It's such a cool experience over there. Joe, thanks so much for coming on and sharing this with us. It was awesome.